good afternoon to our esteemed Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and audience otherwise out there. Thank you so much for tuning in as always, and we have a pretty cool insight tied out for you today. I'm being joined by a good friend and seasoned real estate investor, Mark Loeffler, and he is going to be joining us today to really give his take on both insights to the real estate investor that's out there right now trying to make sense out of what has happened, obviously to the global economy at a high level. But how does one navigate through the micro? If you're a landlord, if you're a property, or if you're thinking of getting into property, ownership, kind of one of the things you should be looking at. How do you identify opportunity? Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here, Simon. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We're honored to have you on here now, and I'm honored for you to be sharing this as well with your audience. It's pretty awesome. We should be able to reach a lot of people. We're also going to be covering off more industry specific. We'll get into the bones of it all, because before we're salespeople, we're investors too. So we're going to cover background first, but I think we really should get into some tips, because you're a broker as well, a real estate broker, as well as I am. And we're going to maybe get some really good tips going to the industry, both mortgage brokers and real estate brokers, of stuff that they can do right now, what they should be doing right now to make sure, A, to survive this lull in business for however long they will go, and how to really position themselves for a post-COVID. What opportunities should they be looking at? What are the things they should be doing to make sure that they stay relevant and obviously provide value to their clients? Where do you want to start, Mark? Lead the conversation, pal.
Let's talk basics. Basic economy right now, I guess. Like, we'll start there and then go. Basic economy is we're at a standstill, right? A lot of white collar people are still working. I hear anecdotally that they're working harder than ever because they're actually working from home, and
yep,
they're getting actually stuff done. Yet, like a lot of construction workers are off now. A lot of the lower end service industry jobs aren't there. And then, there's people like Amazon who is still hiring 100,000 people to service the demand from this, right? So, at the end of the day, we don't know when we're coming out of this. We don't know what's going on. Anecdotally, I heard from a guy very senior up in Bacardi that they already have heard from 10% of the restaurants and bars that they service that they're not going to come back. Right? So this is going to happen.
Yes.
So again, what's that going to do to real estate? What's that going to do to commercial real estate? What's that going to do to the economy overall? Because that's a fair amount of jobs.
Yeah, and 10% is something that you heard now. So I think every 30 days, it's going to get, and every 30 days, not just the 30-day mark, it's 30 more days into a bad situation. Yeah. So every 30 days doesn't mean to just simply 2x the result of last month. It's exponentially worse, because you're compounding debt, you're compounding other factors, you're compounding bad psychology, meaning when somebody's down, they're not making the decisions they would make in an otherwise healthy environment, both for themselves, their families, and their economic state of affairs.
That's right. You got the banquet hall owner, or the guy who he rents it, he's spending $100,000 a month on rent and zero revenue coming in. How long does that last? Because even coming out of this, are we going to have gatherings of over 50 people?
So and that's just it. I think we're all in for a post-COVID world, meaning that it's not going to be the same world we were living in prior to March 15th. I had gone to Portugal at the beginning of February for the Royal Age Chairman's Awards. Mm-hmm. And that's genuinely the last time things were normal. By the time I had gone to speak at an event in Vancouver at the end of February, beginning of March, I traveled out there with my director of operations, Bob, and it was already a COVID world in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So people still came to the meetups, but it was all caution and people didn't know how to act. Are we supposed to elbow bump or like it was still that beginning of
the
March.
2 foot handshake,
That's right, the Wuhan shuffle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like I follow events and I've been following this since January. I went to an event it was February 14th is when it started, Valentine's Day, and I was washing my hands more. I was okay, guys, like this is bigger than you guys think, and this is in the States, is in Austin, Texas. I'm like, this is bigger than you think, and there could be people here that have it. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Like,
yeah, something was happening. So I think commercial real estate is typically a leading indicator and factor to residential real estate. It always is. So you can't have a healthy residential market and an unhealthy commercial, and vice versa. Where people live, people use services, go out to restaurants, go to infrastructure. So everything is kind of set up. And when a community goes up, it obviously takes time to build a community, but it doesn't take much time to tear one down if the wrong things happen. So it is very crucial to watch. And as a commercial broker, I own one of the largest. I run one of the largest teams in the country as far as real estate is concerned. We have 30 people on the ground selling residential real estate. I head up our commercial division. My partner runs our retail and residential division. And from a commercial standpoint, I have a tremendous amount of involvement right now with tenants and clients that are calling to figure out how exactly to negotiate the positions on both sides of the fence. So I have guys who bought office towers. Like, I'm not talking about high-rise, 20, like a Benton Kennedy or Oxford or the pension fund towers. I'm talking guys who bought a 9-story building, a 5-story office building, and they just received 40 calls saying that we can't pay.
Yeah.
So what does one do? So,
well, I mean, you look at that even on the residential side. I mean, you get the one, like you own a single family home and they phone and tell you can't pay. Right? I mean, I own a couple hundred units in Hamilton, and I mean, we're okay for now. I mean, May 1st will come and we'll see what happens. Yet, it's one of those things. They're basically saying, hey guys, if you can't, don't pay rent.
Right.
Right. On every standpoint, like your business, you can't pay, don't pay. Okay. And there's petitions out there to stop evictions. Yet, like, what other, at least on the commercial side, we can't. Like, that hasn't changed yet in Ontario. The residential side, we can't evict yet.
No. I think like my question will be to you. What strategies have you deployed to manage your 200 units? Just to wrap up the commercial conversation.
Okay.
I was speaking to a very high-ranking C-level executive. It's an active deal, so I can't listen. Anyways, they're a massive landlord downtown. The subject property in question is one that I'm a joint venture partner in. So I was speaking to him from a tenant perspective, me being one of the tenants.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to renegotiate my entire lease. And they have no choice but to play ball.
Yeah.
Meaning, what options do they have for us to not get out of the deal, for us to leave? Who's going to go back in?
Well, that's the problem.
Commercial landlords right now are the ones holding the bag that's filled with not good news.
Yes.
They're holding the bag, the ship, to put it in other terms.
Yeah, they are.
And unfortunately, the government, although it has rolled out a strategy for wage subsidy, they have not rolled out a strategy on helping small business owners face their rents.
Well, it's that small business owners, commercial building owners. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's going to crush cap rates, right? So, because it's all based on income. And I mean, this is going to take, there's going to be a fundamental shift in how people work. People are going to need less office space after this because they're like, oh, well, why am I spending this much money on a downtown office tower when all these people can work from home? And oh, by the way, they were actually more productive. They did more work, more stuff done. So it's going to fundamentally change that. And I mean, the government at some point, you'd think, has to step in and help the landlord too. I mean, at the end of the day, it can't be the landlord's burden. I mean, they're going to lose value on their property. That's neither here nor there. Yet in the short term, they can't be left holding the bag for
Canada.
losses. For
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah.
It's what an interesting scenario, because we're talking about this whole thing is created by a virus, so nobody controls it. It's nobody's fault. So you can't blame a single specific person or entity, or organization or body, like any government, for this. So it's just such an interesting time. Like it just boggles every time I sit and I have 5 minutes to myself and I actually think of the surroundings and think of the conversations that I'm having. It's just unbelievable to me. It just blows my mind what has taken place in the last 4 weeks.
I just think of the opportunities that have come up.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So investor to investor, what do you think is going to happen here? What do you think is going to be the hottest buys in the next 60 days?
I mean, I can't hottest spot. I don't know. I get a lot of calls on the multi-residential side because I own a lot of that and I deal in that a lot. And everybody's, oh, the prices are going to go down. I'm like, I don't know on the multi-family side that they're going to go down. I mean, I was talking to a CMHC mortgage broker, and he's basically said that 5-year CMHC rate is like 1.79 right now on a multi-res. Like, why would I ever sell my building? I'll just go get CMHC financing at less than 2%. It's basically free.
That's right.
All right. So like, why would I do that? Like, that's not going to happen. I think you're going to see it maybe on the small commercial plazas, and obviously office. I mean, you know, okay, income goes down, cap rates. Well, the cap rates, even if they stay the same, that means value is lower.
That's right.
So
offices are going to take a beat. Offices.
Yeah, 100%. Offices are, and obviously retail is going to change too, right? I mean, everybody's getting used to shopping online. I mean, my buddy owns that company, True Local, trulocal.ca. They do meat delivery, and he was up 50% in March. I don't think that, is that going to change? I mean, I hope not for him, right?
No, I don't think it's going to change. So I think once people establish clear lines where an experience can be suited to their schedule. So let's think of the delivery of meat. Let's just think about that. I don't have to face 50 other shoppers. I don't have to go through a cash register. I don't have to go and look at beat up packages of meat in a major grocery chain. And getting it delivered to my door in a clean, that it was produced in a clean and sterile environment per se. Typically, it would be if it would be meat delivered, no matter where it's coming from. So you're getting a better experience, better value.
Yeah, better quality product.
And how do you go back? Shout out to True Local. I've actually had their meat and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love their meat. That's why every time I get a chance, I like. You what you got to do is you got to have Mark. He's Mark Loeffler. You got to have him on here. He's a good CEO. He's a good dude. He's very, very smart.
But I'd love to, man. So let's just make sure we connect that, because people always like to hear one strategy and how they're going through it. Yesterday, to the same perspective, I was with one of my best friends. His name is George. He works with Cisco, the networking company. And of course, as the world collapses, networking technology, telecommunications is up by 80% to handle the bandwidth. So he's having the quarter of his lifetime. And it's not by choice, it's by circumstances of what's taking place. Technology, healthcare, medical buildings, as far as commercial real estate, if you are hosting any of these types of companies, you're going to have a tremendous amount of success.
Yes.
They're all going to be looking to expand. I don't think downtown Toronto is in trouble. Downtown Toronto is hosting some of the biggest tech companies. The banking sector is on fire right now because everybody's looking for online access. I think
just anecdotally, I mean, they're not taking new commercial lenders or loans because if you're not a client already, because they can't handle the amount of people calling in to defer applications for deferral, number one, and then the business loans that are going on right now. They just can't handle new customers. So they've actually shut off all new customers and said, nope, if you're not a customer already, don't worry about it. We don't need you.
That's so interesting. What should an investor be doing right now in preparation? Should they be looking at ways to refinance and get capital available? What would you be doing right now?
Well, I mean, I just bought a 30-unit building.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I tell everyone is patience. Number one is patience. Number two is, what was your strategy before this? Mine was to buy multi-residential properties that had lower than average rents that I could, on turnover, repair, get the rents up to market, and obviously increase value. I'm just going to do more of the same.
So your strategy, you personally believe in creating value. So you're looking to buy underperforming assets, creating value, and normalizing them, where you can get potentially either CMHC financing and or refi them to take all your capital out and have them essentially free.
That's exactly what I do. Yep.
Excellent. It's a strategy that we've talked about to death. I'm sure you have with your audience and caught a couple of episodes there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just talked about the burst strategy. This is just a burst strategy for apartment buildings.
That's right.
And
the burst strategy on crack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just with a lot more zeros behind it, right? I mean, and you can do this. I'd be looking to do the same thing on if I was looking at a commercial plaza, or if I was looking at how can I add value? How can I buy this at whatever the cap rate is, and over time, whatever my timeline is or whatever my strategy is, how can I implement that to increase value without outside stuff happening, the economy getting better, this or that, just based on flat line today, here's where we're at, what can I do to add value to that building so we can, I mean, we can make money, right? I mean, add wealth.
Well, let me put it this way. Who is your ideal client? What is an ideal client for multiplex? So let's call it a beginner or an intermediate to multiplex investing. Somebody who's looking for anywhere between $4 and $16, let's say.
I mean,
how would they prepare themselves to be an ideal client to you?
Yeah, I mean, typically the guys who are going to step up into that, they usually have 4 or 5 smaller properties to begin with. Whether they're single family, duplexes, 3, 4, 5 unit properties. And basically they're kind of at the end of the rope on residential financing. I mean, that's the beauty of residential financing, is that it's based on your income and you will hit a roadblock at some point. Whereas commercial financing with apartment buildings or any commercial, the more you own, the more they lend you.
Do you find that they're asking for personal guarantees at this point? Have you seen any different underwriting processes?
So we were always 100% personal guarantees. I mean, we buy through corporations. We're always 100% personally guaranteeing everything. So that hasn't changed.
Okay.
Underwriting. I mean, it's taking a little longer right now just because the timing and how busy they are. But I mean, we have a good relationship with our commercial lender, and I mean, she pushes stuff for us, so we'll get it done.
Do you work with brokers, or do you typically work with financial institutions themselves?
So typically, I'm going direct. I have started working with a broker on some of the refinancing stuff. We've been direct with BMO, and we've done everything through BMO, and that may continue.
Very, very aggressive right now. They're very aggressive right now.
Which one?
BMO.
BMO has been aggressive with us for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, we have 0 fees almost. They've been super good to us. So I mean, we stay with them until something changes. I mean, does that mean I don't go develop relationships somewhere else? Well, I mean, when something else happens, I don't want to be left holding the bag. So I keep talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, being in the position that you are, not having any contingency measures would be unfathomable. So I definitely think anybody in your position, or even 200 doors before your position, should always be in a way of thinking that you can't, you should never put all your eggs in one basket under any circumstance. Diversifying both your portfolio, diversifying your network is important. Honoring relationships and throwing bones consistently to various relationships will keep those alive, and when you do need them, they're there for you. And it's always reciprocity. You always got to lead by giving, and when you give, you're always there to receive in the time of need. I definitely believe that. I've got a question for you, Mark. How do you create the capital? Let's take you back 5 years or 10 years when you were first starting out, or maybe kind of in the middle. Let's say you were buying a building worth $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever the case may be. You and a couple partners put $250,000, $500,000 together, bought the building. Where does the next $500,000 come from for the next building?
Well, I mean, again, you must have been watching my YouTube videos, because I just I think it was Friday, Monday, put that video up on joint ventures. So we get partners. And
how do you get partners? Let's talk about that process. So how do you go about it?
How do I go about finding them? How do I go about structuring the deal? What's the...
Give me a Cole's note on the whole thing, and maybe we'll reschedule a time to do a deep dive, depending on the feedback that we get.
Yeah. Cole's notes. So when I first started, it was putting 4 or 5 people together on a building. If you don't have to, I don't recommend it. One investor, one building is the best. One investor, all the buildings is even better. Yet I know that's not feasible in some circumstances yet. So we have a couple where we have multiple investors on, and it's fine. It's just on refinancing and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain. Yet everybody goes on title. Everybody is on mortgages. Everybody goes. It's commercial. It doesn't go against any of their personal credit, right? So it doesn't affect them going and buying a home, buying a cottage, buying whatever, right? And yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you're successful and you're out there talking to people about what you do, more money will find you. That's just how it...
But before you're successful, how do you speak to one to generate, like, what's the value you provide in the beginning to be able to get those few people to sign on? Like, so I want this to inspire the next one, not to say he's already successful. It's easy for him. How does the guy who's starting out go about providing value to joint venture partners?
You go out and you do the legwork, right? I mean, when I started out, I would go in and I'd do the renovations. I was renting the properties. I was the property manager. Like, I was doing everything. And I mean, they were making a great return, yet I was working my bag off. I mean, I bought 3 properties on my own without ever having a joint venture partner. And I did the exact same thing on those ones. So I didn't even know any better. It just fell right into it, doing it this way. And then once you get enough, it's like, well, listen, I'm not managing anymore, because my time is better spent putting deals together and, doing that. It's going to make us all a lot more money. And yeah, I mean, you get out there and you hustle. I mean, I know some guys who I've seen joint venture and they've raised a lot of money. And to be honest with you, they're not even good operators. You look at their operations and you're just like, oh, I wouldn't trust you with my money. And then I look at other guys who've built really solid companies, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would give them my money.
Sure.
Right? If I ever got out, I was like, yeah, perfect. Here, take my money. I know you're a good operator. You run it like I would, or better sometimes.
What do you think makes the biggest difference in an operator?
I think knowing your weaknesses and hiring for your weaknesses, or partnering. I mean, I talked about this in the joint venture thing. It's like when you partner, I mean, I have a partner in my real estate business, and she is amazing. She does all her residential because people like her. And to be honest with you, do I care about being liked? Not really. And, people like, I mean, you'll meet her one day. People just fall in love with her. They become best friends with her. She's a great residential agent. And that's sometimes not for me. So she does that. I do the commercial, I do the back end of it. And that works really well for me. So it's a good partnership because she gets to go out and talk to people, be the extrovert. I can be the one, the introvert. I'm the extroverted introvert in the background.
Yeah.
And I mean, it works well.
And right now but my question was, how do you define a good versus a bad company? And you immediately looked inside and gave an example of your company where you actually divide and conquer based on strengths, not based on weaknesses, but based on strengths.
Yeah.
And I think that perspective is the difference, because when you focus on your weaknesses, you're spending time, energy, and money to try to fix something that shouldn't actually be focused on at all. But you're good at commercial real estate, you're good at analysis, you're good at being able to identify where the value creation and the value add came. She's amazing with people, and she's amazing at fostering relationships from scratch in a very quick pace, which is what a residential realtor needs to do. They need to gain the trust and be able to provide the emotional support to a couple or to a person looking to make a massive decision in their lives. So I think the best organizations are always the ones that can identify strengths and take and hire out, third party out, or regardless, delegate out what you're not strong at and really focus on creating value based on what you're strong at. I like that.
That's 100%. Yep.
I like that. Let's move on a little bit to more industry specific recommendations. A lot of our audiences are industry professionals. They're our colleagues, our friends, or lots of people who look up to our businesses or feel they can benefit from seeing what we do and otherwise. What advice do you have right now to the real estate and mortgage professional?
And you got to decide which are the two kind of agents you are. There's basically the ones that are paralyzed by this. They're the ones that are saying, hey, don't call anyone, don't do anything. Like, it's bad. You should just be sheltering in place and, damn it all, right? And then you got the people who are, okay, this is it. We're taking it in stride. I mean, we still sold a couple properties last week. I mean, people still need to buy and sell real estate. So it's helping those people. And I guess the biggest thing is, what are you doing to think outside the box? I got a mortgage professional. He hired a financial analyst to go through all his clients and do an interest rate differential for them. And he went through 700 and contacted them all and said, hey guys, the interest rates are falling. Here's what it's going to cost you to break your mortgage. Here's what you're going to save over the course of the mortgage. Does it make sense for you? And I mean, so he told me he used to be 40% refinances, 60% new purchases. Now he's 90% refinances, 10% repurchases. So he's like, well, that's not going to go away when this all ends. And I expect my business to be 20 to 30% bigger after this is all done. Right?
So let's break that number down quickly. Just really quickly. 90% refi, which means you already have the client and you're creating a new transaction from an existing client without spending a single dollar in marketing, and you have provided value in savings to the client who did it, which is going to create a referral.
Yeah.
I just needed to point that out.
Yeah.
So please go on, because I think there's a really important lesson coming.
Well, I mean, the lesson is what are you doing to differentiate yourself, number one. Number two is, like, are you out there? Are you talking to your clients? Like, what value are you adding them right now? I mean, everybody's sitting at home. I mean, I've been talking about starting a YouTube channel for, I don't know, a year, maybe more. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to do it now, when would be a better time? Right? I mean, I got time on my hands, so I can sit down and write the content, and I can do that type of stuff and film, and the person who's editing it has some time, so it just makes sense. And so what are you doing different? What are you really taking from this? What are you learning? What are you reading? Are you watching YouTube? Are you listening to podcasts? just don't put your head in the sand. Are you talking to are you talking to 10 of your clients a day, just checking in? Like you see their Facebook birthdays come up. Are you phoning them?
Isn't it funny? Isn't that funny? Because you've come up with about 30 different ideas in the last 2 minutes. Isn't it funny that even as a passing conversation, are you calling 10 clients a day? And you're saying that like it's nothing. I can tell you from direct experience that 80% of realtors don't call 3 people a day.
Oh, I know.
For you to say, are you calling like 10 people? Because I know you're calling probably 20 to 30 people.
Well, here's the thing. It depends on the day and how many people pick up. But I
Of
go
course.
I go on a 2 hour long walk with a 30-pound kettlebell in my backpack, and I just dial. And if I ended up on a conversation for half an hour with a guy today, it's fine. But I'm doing 2 hours, and I'm out there and I'm talking to people.
Fitness is important to you, and I like how this is just going on. Fitness is important to you, and I know you've done some triathlons and etc. Are you staying physically active during this time?
Mostly. Not. I actually haven't been as consistent as I have been. I mean, you see that I'm in the vehicle right now. We're at the cottage, and the roads aren't really good to ride my road bike on up here yet. They're still a little. Like they got a lot of sand on them from the winter, and it's still a little chilly to do outside. So I've been doing a little bit, but not as much as I'd like. So I'm not trying. I mean, if you go to my Instagram, the Mark Loeffler Experience, I'm posting up there every day my workouts now, just because it's just accountability. And I said I'm slacking. I need to post up here every day to make sure I'm moving every day, whether it's just that 2-hour hike with the kettlebell and the backpack. I'm moving. So I did that today, and I did a little workout. Like I grabbed some weights off my buddy's gym before everything got shut down. So
yeah, that's cool.
I mean, the goal is obviously I still want to do the Wilderness Traverse in August. I just don't know if it's going to be going. So
it's going to be going because all those events are going to be affected, of course.
Yeah.
I think, Mark, we really covered off some good ground. I think the best advice we can give our industry colleagues is to, if you have your head in the sand, you need to stop it right now, and you need to pull up your socks and get on the phone and create some value for your clients. Remind them where you are, what you have done for them in the past, and that you're going to be here past this crisis.
Well, and you know what? Change their perspective. We had buyer clients, and there was a house that they had saw before, I guess, the lockdown or the self-isolation movement, and they were like, "Oh, we really like it, but selling our house and this and that." I'm like, "Well, let's negotiate on it. Let's see what we can do, and let's get a clause that the sale of home clause."
Yeah.
Right. And I go, you're buying something that's a bigger home that's going to have less interest at this time. Yours is a starter home. We'll get tons of interest on it. There's no issue selling your home. So
we can't lose. If we put a clause and we're protected, we can't lose.
Yeah, we have a clause. So I mean, what again, you're going to spend for an inspection or whatever, and you're going to be out of pocket that much if nothing happens. And I doubt that. So, and it was just changing their perspective because they didn't know that they could do that. I mean, because what have they heard the last 5 years or even coming up to this was the market's red hot. You buy your house, you sell. And it's the same thing now. You buy your house, you get a clause, and then you put it on the market.
So as an agent, get back to basics. Get on the phone, foster your relationships, get creative with listings and buys. If somebody is looking to buy and something comes up, show them virtually or physically, whatever can be done, the property, and make sure you encourage them to think outside the box. Encourage them to put an offer in because this could be the time and the hope for them. And all they would have to do is do a conditional agreement based on their success with their product. So they're not putting themselves in a pickle. So protect your client, be there for your client, call your client, and get back in the game.
Because what if this is like '08 all over again? Do you remember? Were you in the business in '08,
Oh, I
September
was.
'08? I,
I was.
I, Ian Zabo and I listed a property the day Lehman Brothers collapsed in the beaches. We did a flip. I mean, we made like $1,000. We would have made like a lot more. Yet 6 months later, we would have made $150,000 more because everybody woke up and said, I mean, the people who are buying homes and that type of thing is like, we still have jobs. Hey, mortgage rates are super cheap. Like, why aren't we buying? Oh, okay. And the banks were lending,
And that's just
right?
a psychology thing. It's just a psychology thing.
It's such a psychology thing, right? So when this all ends and people, like, we got that pent up demand because people aren't listing right now. People aren't, there's still some buyers. There's still buyers out there, let's be honest. Yet,
Yeah, so no, but the status of today, April 14th, is sales volume is down 80%, sales volume 80%, and I'm talking about GTA, and listings are down 67 or 76%.
so
So
it
the
has
market,
become yeah, you're more of a buyer market right now. And
more
I
than
mean,
you were a month ago anyways.
yeah, I mean, anecdotally, we're seeing that the prices are staying relatively flat to where they were in March. That
And
one,
that's because the sales and the volume and the listings are kind of the same.
yeah,
In some markets, you're going to see more listings, like in the Niagara region. You're based out of Hamilton. Those markets are going to have more opportunity for the buyer, no doubt. But
I agree.
GTA is remaining extremely stable because the listings are down as much as the sales volume, meaning
Yeah.
that it was the same environment in March as it is today.
Well, I mean, personally, I live in Oakville, and I look at my neighborhood stats all the time, and there was 3 sales yesterday and 1 listing, or in the last week. So
It's very, very interesting. I have something coming up actually in Oakville, right in Yorkville, and the neighborhood. I used to live in Oakville. Right behind the Royal LePage by the mall.
oh, Glen Abbey.
Glen Abbey. Right in Glen Abbey. So we have a nice little listing coming up there. So we'll see how that goes. We're still talking to the seller, see what their thoughts are, if they have the confidence or the endurance to go through a sale with virtual showings and all this kind of madness. Not everybody's so up to it, or if they have to leave their house or themselves. So we're just going through those conversations right now. And
Well, it's just taking protections, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What's your closing statement to all the investors, just like me, just like you, out there right now?
So 2 is, number 1 is the best time to buy real estate was 50 years ago. Second best time was always today. And actually, I'm going to say 3. So number 2 is my mantra is, yeah, I'm overpaying for it, yet in 5 years I'll look like a genius. And 3, you never get hurt investing in real estate for the long term.
So buy, hold.
Buy, hold. Buy, add value, hold.
Well, every single component of your 3 tips involves time. One of our favorites, my business partner Jas, his favorite quote is, "The market always goes up and down, upward." So over time, there's a million ways to say it, but that's his saying. And our good friend Scott from Keyspire has said something that's just stuck in my head forever. It's not about timing the market; it's about time in the market. Yep. So stop trying to figure everything out like you're the first and last genius in the city. Buy your real estate, add value, hold on to it. Be smart about structure. Be smart about the partners that you put at your side, and really build the property.
And take advantage of times like this. I mean, if you can get a mortgage rate for 10 years at under 2%, well, like literally, when are we going to ever see that again? I don't know. I mean, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. I mean, I thought under 3%. I was like, woohoo, free money.
It's true.
Under 2%? Oh.
It's true. All right, my man. I think we've given some good stuff out there. I think we've got some good nuggets out there. I hope our audience gets back to us with some feedback. Feedback is very, very important to both of us.
Breakfast of champions.
You got it. You got it. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Please definitely share this video if you seek value in it. Let us know if there's something you want us to expand on for our next conversation. We are in isolation at home, and we are far more efficient working from home than we are going to the office and burning 2.5 hours a day on 401 for sure. So we're going to be doing a lot more of these. To everybody, thanks for tuning into the RDC Insights. And your podcast is the
Mark Loeffler Experience. Yep, and you can find that on
Loeffler
YouTube.
Experience.
We need to
Definitely
get up
follow
to
Mark.
we need to get up to 1,000 users by the end of, or 1,000 subscribers by the end of April. That's the goal.
Big goals. We're big boys. Let's do this. Let's get you to 1,000. Everybody, give Mark a quick follow. Talk to you soon.